I saw a report yesterday that they're going to wait till week 4 to play Justin Fields. I feel like that's some of the stupidest things I've ever heard, that you put a timeline on when you're going to play a guy. You saw when he came in, he's electric. The guys kind of rallied around him. He lifted the team up to say, like, all right, we're going to wait, a couple more weeks. That really bothers me.
This is Big Man Bets with the Hall of Famer Orlando Pace and the 7-time Pro Bowler Nick Mangold. Episode 2, what an amazing week 1. Tom Brady looked like himself or God in a football uniform. Aaron Rodgers did not. Our first topic, Nick, you're up here. Who will retire first, Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady?
That's a tough one. I feel like Tom's going to go for as long as he possibly can. Aaron, I feel like, is getting closer to the end than Tom. So I don't know, but Aaron has that competitive spirit. It's really a tough call. I'm thinking that Tom's going to retire before Aaron, and that's based off of nothing but my own brain.
Orlando, does Aaron still have the fire?
You know what? I think he does. I think he underestimated what training camp, practice, offseason program was. He just wanted to roll his hat out there and beat Aaron Rodgers, which is difficult at the quarterback position. His timing, all those things, all the emotion that they're dealing with. He doesn't like the front office. They probably don't like Aaron at this point in time. So he's dealing with a lot. But I think at the end of the day, he looked like he was unprepared, but but he's a competitor, one of the best quarterbacks of this era. So I know he'll still be competitive next week, and he'll come out and be fired up, and hopefully they get a win. Because if they don't, he could be sitting on the bench, and they could try to preserve him for trade. So I think after, it depends on how the season go. It's the soap opera in Green Bay, so can't wait to watch this thing unfold.
Nick, do you think Aaron mentally is still in this thing?
I think he is. I think he's struggling with the front office and the organization. I like Orlando's thought about trade bait. That could be interesting, especially if they go 0-2, start going 0-3. Aaron's not looking great. He's still a great quarterback. I mean, there's no question about that. He can sling the ball. But if his heart's not in Green Bay, maybe they push him away. I didn't even think about trade bait. Orlando's got us going early today.
I know. Yeah, that's my hot take for the day, man. When you look at Aaron, he just didn't look like he was into it, man, last week. And the coach understands that. The organization sees that, and they, obviously, they don't want him to get injured. They want his trade value just to go be up. But when you look at Green Bay and you look at the landscape of the league, they still have the most talent. And at this stage of his career, I know he wants to win a Super Bowl, and his best chance of winning a Super Bowl, to me, is still in Green Bay.
Well, the NFC North wide open, that's for sure. So I guess maybe a little bit less of panic in Green Bay. But who's got the most to prove in week 2? Orlando, we'll start with you. The Packers are in there as a team with a lot to prove, but so are the Bills, the Titans, the Ravens, who should have won on Monday night. Who do you think of those 4 at least has the most to prove week 2, Orlando?
Wow, I think, personally, I think the Titans. I think when you look at what the Titans were, everybody coming into the season, you get Julio Jones, obviously onto the board, and they had such a great year last year. I think a lot of people, their expectations, a lot of people were talking about that was their representation, represent the AFC. So for them to come out and get beat by the Cardinals the way they got beat is a little disappointing. So week 2, Mike Vrabel has to get his ball club up, ready to go, and see if they could, if they could bounce back from that week 1 loss.
Nick, does practice more intense for those teams coming after the week 1 loss? Green Bay, Buffalo, Tennessee, Baltimore?
Oh, definitely. I mean, I think, you hate to start the season with a loss, but then to go 0-2 would be, I think, a disaster for all 4 of those teams. I like the Titans as a team that really needs a win here. But I also like the Packers. Talking about Aaron Rodgers, he's angry with the front office. He's angry with the coaches. But I still think he has an ego that he wants to win, and he wants to be the player that he is in the quarterback. So I think this is a bounce back week for the Packers. It has to be. So I think practice in Green Bay is probably pretty intense this week.
Were you most surprised by the Titans loss, Orlando, or did anything else jump out at you?
Yeah, I was most surprised by that loss. Not only, just because it's Arizona Cardinals. If you look at the other teams that lost, that the high-profile teams with great expectations, if you look at Baltimore, who went out to Las Vegas, overtime game, fought hard, that's a tough loss. But the way that the Titans lost was really surprising to me because they're a tough, hard-nosed team with a lot of talent. So you hate to see them lose to a team like Arizona.
I was shocked by the Bills, Nick. You?
Yeah, I was too. I thought I thought they'd win. I was a little concerned about the spread at 6.5. I thought it was going to be a close game, and obviously it was. But the fact that the Bills lost with all the talent they have on defense and offense, this week's going to be huge for them. And I'm looking to see a win out of Buffalo this week.
Let's look at the quarterbacks, specifically the rookies. Will Mac Jones be better than Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson? It's early, but Nick, make a pick here. What do you think?
Jury's still out. I think Trevor throwing 3 picks in week 1 is kind of expected. I loved what I saw out of Zach Wilson, where they obviously were down in the first half, but rallied to come back. That fell short. Is disappointing. Mac Jones seemed to be, I think, at this point in week 1, the guy that you would look to. But it's gonna be a heck of a race. And I'm concerned with the Jets had a lot of injuries. Jacksonville is always Jacksonville, so they got to deal with that. So I think Mac Jones is probably in the best position to succeed. And especially seeing this week coming up, New England playing the Jets, you got Mac Jones versus Zach Wilson head to head. I think will be a fantastic competition where we get a little bit more insight to what these quarterbacks can do.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Mac Jones will get healthy this week against the Jets. A lot of quarterbacks do, but I will say this: I think he'll be I think early on in his career, he'll definitely have a better start to his career. We're past week 1 now, and we're talking about Trevor Lawrence's coach possibly moving on already. So he'll be on his 3rd or 4th offensive coordinator by the time that before he could develop as a real quarterback in the National Football League. Mac Jones is in a stable environment. Bill Belichick isn't going anywhere. So that offense, he could grow and mature under that offense. So he'll definitely have a start. His career will definitely start off a lot smoother than Trevor Lawrence.
How do you know if a young quarterback, quote, has it? Orlando?
I just think they're poised in the pocket, how mature they be. They come in. A lot of guys early on, if you get that, they don't study film as much. They may be the first one out, out of the building. You could tell if a guy's there early and leaving late as a young guy, and how much he's willing to be great, asking questions, talking to linemen, trying to figure out schemes, that kind of thing. And he's really engaged in the team, and you could just tell in the locker room, just his leadership qualities. That's when you got a real guy, a real leader in that locker room, and a kid that may have a bright future.
Let's go topic 4, and we're looking at the Chicago Bears. Will Matt Nagy, their head coach, survive the season? Orlando, what do you think?
Absolutely not. Not if he doesn't play Justin Fields. When you look at we've talked quarterbacks almost this entire show, you see the rookies, Trevor Lawrence, Mac Jones, Zach Wilson, all these guys playing. And you got to ask yourself, what is Nagy doing in Chicago? Why not play the most athletic guy, that's probably been in the Chicago Bear uniform for, 20 years. So, obviously he's on the hot seat. The thing about those other young quarterbacks, those rookie quarterbacks, a lot of them have rookie head coaches too. But Nagy, he's on the hot seat. I would go out guns blazing with the best athletes, best players I have, put Justin Fields in and let him go.
Can firing a coach help, Nick, mid-season?
No, mid-season, it's not going to get you the playoffs. I don't think, I don't think any team's ever fired the coach and gotten in the playoffs. I am intrigued. I saw a report yesterday that they're going to wait till week 4 to play Justin Fields. And I feel like that's some of the stupidest things I've ever heard, that you put a timeline on when you're going to play a guy. You saw when he came in, he's electric. The guys kind of rallied around him. He lifted the team up. And to say, like, all right, we're going to wait, a couple more weeks. What you have in Andy Dalton. That's guaranteed for the past 10 years. And now I say, you need to jump into the fire with Justin Fields, see what you have. I know he's electric. I know he can get the job done through his arm and his legs. So the fact that they're holding on and they put this date, that really bothers me, especially if I was sitting in the offensive line room and, we're playing games like, oh, well, you know what? We'll wait till week 4 to put him in. I would be devastated and just angry as all get out.
Yeah, that's what Nagy doesn't realize. And Nick, you know this. You could lose a locker room because as guys, as players, we know who's the better quarterback. If we're out here, blood, sweat, and tears on the field, and you're not playing your best guy, you could actually lose a locker room based on that. Because hey, well, I'm out here giving my all, and the organization or the coach doesn't, aren't putting the best players out there. So I would put him in as much as I can. If not, week 2, I would put him in definitely before week 4. Or he could be looking for another job. So,
question 5, let's lean on your offensive line history, talent. Who would you rather protect the way they play, Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson? Nick, you're up.
I look at this one and I say, I'm looking at the same player. They both make plays with their feet. They both move around the pocket. So I feel like this would be challenged more of like, who would I rather want, Patrick Mahomes or Lamar Jackson, compared to like Tom Brady? Where Tom, exactly where he's going to be. He's going to be 7 yards back or 9 yards back. Exactly where he wants to be. And I'm looking forward to hearing Orlando's answer on this, because at being a left tackle, like that's a huge, like, your protection. That's your gig. So I'm concerned with Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. I would get a lot of holding calls with guys running around, not knowing where, my defender is going, thinking I'm doing something right. Next thing you know, he gets the tackle. I would prefer a pocket passer, but only because I don't want to get a holding call. So I'm looking forward to Orlando's answer.
Yeah. You know what? I would say Patrick Mahomes, and that's only by a little bit. And to Nick's point, I like to know where my quarterback's going to be. Lamar Jackson, he could be all over the place. He could be, on my left or my right. He could be sprinting out. You just never know, where he is. And he runs a lot more than Patrick Mahomes runs. And so that's the only thing as an offensive lineman you want to know. Hey, is my quarterback going to be 7 yards back? And then I know where to keep my guy, But on the flip side, a quarterback like Lamar, guys don't rush the same because they always try to keep contained. They don't ever want to leave contained. So they'll just come up and they may not rush as hard or try to get upfield as hard because they know Lamar could break pocket. But me personally, I like a pocket quarterback. Kurt Warner, I knew he wasn't going to run. Mike Brozier, knew any of those guys weren't going to run. So that was perfect for me. And I'll take a quarterback with a quick release any day of the week. So,
other side of the ball, who's the best defensive lineman in the NFL? We got Aaron Donald, TJ Watt, Chandler Jones. You can go off the board. Orlando, who would strike the most fear looking across that line?
Yeah, I'm retired now, so nobody. I don't like any of those guys, man. I'll say that first and foremost. Who's and I got a chance to see him this offseason. He's a big guy, Myles Garrett, man. He is a hell of a player. And when you see him in person, you're like, man, it'll be a tough day, man, out there blocking a guy his size constantly for four quarters, man. So, but Aaron Donald being a Ram, obviously those guys, you gotta double, triple team him every snap. So, he's one of those guys that got power and speed. So, but he'll be tough to deal with as well.
Nick, your toughest guy that you ever blocked?
Toughest guy I ever blocked was Vince Wilfork. He's a big man. You obviously see that. He's strong. But what was crazy about him was his athleticism. He could get off the ball fast. Right now, I think after his performance in week 1, Chandler Jones, 5 sacks.
Wow.
He's looking like a bad man. So I'll wait and hold judgment until we get a little bit further into the season. But I didn't see that at Aaron Donald. And I think Chandler Jones right now is my guy on defensive line.
Does anybody jump out at you who was like Donald as far as he doesn't really look the part? Like if you stand next to him, not a big guy, but he's just unbelievable on the field.
Yeah, no one I can really remember. I think he's almost like a one-on-one, like a, obviously I shouldn't say that because John Randall was an animal in himself. And he looked the part too, but just guys inside to have that many sacks early in your career playing mainly inside is pretty remarkable. So
let's go to the picks. We've got we're going to do our pick of the week, upset of the week, and then we're going to look at some over-unders. Nick, you're leading off with your pick of the week, and we're looking at the Rams and the Colts. Go ahead.
All right. I've gone to the board. I've done the research. Getting into it. Pick of the week this week is the Rams. They're -4 against the Colts. They just look fantastic on offense. Matt Stafford, I was kind of a little poo-pooing him last week. He looked fantastic. I'm back on the train. Let's go Rams -4.
That is right, Nick. You were killing Stafford last week. You had no faith in him last week, didn't you?
Look, I'm a changed man. Overreaction week 2. I'm back.
You're back. I like it. I'm riding that New Orleans train over the Carolina Panthers. I think last week it was my upset pick of the week. Jameis Winston, 5 touchdowns. I think it continues with the divisional rivalry. I think he'll go out and that's my pick of the week. Saints
are a 3.5-point favorite. And by the way, I didn't mention, but I guess I should right now. You were both 0-1 on your locks last week. Orlando, you lost the Chiefs game. Nick, you lost the Ravens. It ain't easy, this job. Let's try the upset of the week. And I think you're looking at the Raiders and the Steelers here, Orlando.
I am. I like the Raiders. I think they'll ride high off that overtime win last week. They played well, and when you watch the Steelers play, although they beat the Bills last week, their offense looked anemic. Man, they couldn't do anything offensively. So I like the Raiders in that game.
Getting 5.5. Nick.
All right, here's what I'm looking at. Upset of the week. Early game Thursday night. Giants coming in. They're +3. The Washington football team has lost their starting quarterback. They're on their backup quarterback. Their defense did not look as good as we thought they were going to be. The Giants lost week 1, so it's a bounce back. I'm going Giants +3, upset of the week.
What's the better division, the NFC East or the NFC North? All right, it's bold. I like it. Anytime you say Giants, I appreciate it. Let's go over-unders. And Orlando, I think you're looking at KC and Baltimore. Is that correct?
I am. 55, the highest over on the board, man. I'm looking for an offensive shootout. I think Patrick Mahomes, that offense, they might get the majority of those points, but I am definitely looking for an over. Big game between 2 young quarterbacks in the league. Both of those guys are high-powered that could score, take it from anywhere on the field. So I'm excited to watch that game. I think it'll be a pretty offensive yielding game. So
that's the reason they're on Sunday Night Football. Nick, what do you got?
55.5 is so many points. But listen, I'm not going to say anything about anyone others. Your pick is your pick. I am going Broncos Jags. I'm looking at 45.5. I'm taking the under. I don't like the Broncos. The Jags, they put up a little bit of numbers, but Trevor Lawrence, I think, is still finding his chops. I don't see it being a high-scoring game, so under 45.5, Broncos Jags.
Picks are in. Let's go to College Corner, and we're going to get to your Buckeyes in a second. But first, USC has fired their head coach, Clay Helton, out, and Urban Meyer's been in Jacksonville already for, a minute, but maybe primed to take over the Trojan program. What do we think about Urban going back to the college game? Orlando, what do you think?
I think people are hitting the panic button way too soon after week 1. Obviously, Urban hadn't really got his feet wet in the NFL. Personally, I do think he's a college coach just because what I know of him and he likes to, the control aspect of the college game and getting young kids and recruiting some of the best athletes in the country. So I wouldn't be surprised if he took that job. I think that was a rumor last year prior to him taking the Jacksonville job. he was doing some television out in LA, and people in Buckeye land was saying that, maybe that was his next move. So I wouldn't be surprised if it happened. I know if you look at Nick Saban, when he went out and coached, he was in Miami and then went back to Alabama, I wouldn't be surprised. Those guys are both really great college coaches, and never would be surprised if he went back to the college ranks.
Nick, should Urban go back?
I think it's too early. I mean, the fact that he's lost one game, and we're already talking about him going to USC. I feel like it's more of a media thing. I think he really wants to prove that he can do it outside of college. But at the same time, like Orlando was saying, you have in college supreme control. You can get anybody you want if you recruit them well enough. You are the king. NFL is very different. And so I think it's going to be a challenge for Urban. I said that from the get-go, but I think it's too soon to say that USC, Urban are going to tie up together. Could be changing my tune. Jacksonville goes 0-6. Maybe he goes running for the hills. I don't know. But right now, no, it's too soon. I think he stays put and tries to prove that he can do it in the NFL.
And that's my point too, Nick. When you look at Urban and the success he's had in sports in general, if you go 0-6 or if you go 4-12 or 4-13, whatever, it wears on him. Like, he's one of those guys that's really engaged into the sports, and he succeeded almost on in every college program that he's coached for. To have that many losses in a rough season, trust me, he'll be out of Jacksonville. If not midseason, probably, he'll be looking for a job late in the season.
Hey, gentlemen, are your Buckeyes done losing to Oregon? National championship hopes out the window. Orlando, you're smiling. Do you have confidence they can rise up and get back in it?
It's early. I will say that loss didn't look good from the standpoint of the way Oregon, obviously did whatever they wanted offensively. We need to go back to the drawing board, make some adjustments defensively. I know we have a ton of athletes on the defensive side of the ball. We just got to put them in the right position to make plays. But yeah, I always have hope, though. Let me say that. I always have hope.
Nick, are you a believer?
I have to believe. I have to be a believer because I have the futures. They're going to win 11 games, so at best I can push now. I feel like Ryan Day came out and said it. Said defense is not playing well. We can't give up that many points and that many yards to win. So I'm glad that he realizes there is a problem, and that is on the defense side. The offense seemed to be moving pretty well. Defense, we couldn't stop a nosebleed. So this week's going to be interesting, coming out, seeing what the defense does. I don't care about the offense. I think the offense is going to be fine. I want to see the defense just kind of, toughen up and stop people, because if we don't stop people, you're not winning the Big Ten. And if you don't win the Big Ten, you're not going to the playoffs. And I couldn't deal with that. The amount of shame that would come down upon us as Ohio State guys, I can't deal with not being in the playoffs.
Absolutely. The text messages were rolling on my phone the other day, man. I needed to stop that, man, because I'm proud of my Buckeyes and I let everybody know it. So they give it back to me when they take a tough loss.
Appreciate the loyalty. Let's wrap up with our big bite, guys. I want your go-to pregame meal, and I also want your worst food to eat before a game. Orlando, what do you got?
Early on, man, I didn't eat I wasn't a big eater, so I may do like some eggs and some bacon early for a 12 o'clock game. So that was probably my go-to, like an omelet, tomato, bacon omelet, something like that. I will say this: the worst food I've had, and we talked about it a little bit last week. I was in Iowa in college, and I don't know what I was thinking. It was a Burger King across the street from the hotel, and they had 2-for-1 Whoppers or something like that. And I went over and grabbed a Whopper. Let me just say, that was the worst meal that I've had prior to a game. I trust me, I was using that pink locker room, those toilets in that pink locker room day before the game. It was all a mess, man. So do not do Burger King before a game.
Lockers with bathrooms with no doors.
Yes, and it was getting some use that day. Let me say that much.
I got to tell you, for me, My go-to meal was I always had a steak and eggs before a game. I don't know why. That was just what I wanted, and that's what I did throughout my whole career. But Orlando, do you remember the sticky buns at the golf course?
Yes. Yes,
those are amazing. And I've been jonesing. I haven't had one in. Let's see, I was there in 2005, so it's been 16 years. No, so many years, and I'm jonesing for a sticky bun from the golf course.
Oh, they were great. You know what? I was back a couple years ago, and Larry Romanoff brought me one. Dude, I was in heaven for like 30 seconds, man. They was a great. I love those things.
For those who don't know the sticky bun, can you break that down exactly what's so delicious and what it is?
There was something about it. Like I've never had one. For me personally, I've never had one, before. And then, so it was Friday night. You would have dinner at, I think, the Ohio State golf course. And as part of, I think it was the dessert, it was a sticky bun, which, was like a cinnamon roll with pecans on top of it. And it was just gooey and warm and delicious, and everyone got one. It was after a full meal where you put ranch on everything. The sticky bun was just right. The ranch went on everything.
Man, you're right.
Everything. But that sticky bun, and pun intended, it sticks with me to this day. And I hate that I haven't had one in probably 14 years.
You can't find them anywhere outside of that golf course, actually. Man, I'm about to figure out how to get some.
Well, maybe the Buckeyes will have some sticky buttons on the bounce back here against Tulsa. Hey, Big Man Bets episode number 2 is in the books. Go to winbet.com to get all your betting needs, all your lines. It's right there for you. Orlando, Nick, great show. We'll see you next week.